I'm sure you want to make the most of your days. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing well and staying healthy during this time and enjoying your break. My name is Joanne Casey. I am the director of the Career and Professional Development Center at Albany Law School. I'm joined by my colleagues today, Colleen O'Byrne, who's right there, Lima Hawk, and Meg Wager. That's the order I see you guys on my Zoom. And they will be participating in the conversation. We thought it might be a good idea just to get together before everything started and talk about the on-campus interview program. And as a side note, this program is being recorded. So I forgot about the housekeeping tools. This program is being recorded. And if you have any questions, we encourage you to use the to raise your hand, that raise the hand function. Lima is going to be checking that, and we can make this as interactive as possible. But we had thought it might be a good idea to meet ahead of the semester starting and talk about the on-campus interview program. We're also going to talk about other avenues on how to find your summer internships. So please feel free to ask any questions along the way. On-campus interviewing is going to be our main focus of today's conversation. It starts pretty quickly. You all have gotten some emails about the program. Video was provided to you in a few emails. So if you haven't gotten the video, Lima is going to share the video in the link in the chat. So we do encourage you to watch the video. It will answer several of your questions. On-campus interviews, just a brief overview of how it works is that the positions are posted on Albany Law Link in the on-campus interview OCR tab. You will view the positions, you will apply, and the documents that are typically requested are a resume, cover letter, a writing sample, which will be your lawyering memos, transcripts, which I know are coming out soon, and writing sample, resume, cover letter, transcript. And there may be other application materials that an employer asks for, such as an application, statement of interest. So those are the documents you'll be preparing. You'll apply through Albany Law Link. The employers will get the applications. They will do 100% pre-screening. They will decide who they want to interview. They will let our office know. You will be notified through Albany Law Link whether you've received an interview, and you will sign up for an interview time slot. In a pre-COVID world, you would have gotten all dressed up in your suits and come over here to the Career and Professional Development Center to interview here in our suites. But as we are still dealing with the pandemic, these interviews are all going to be virtual. So you will be getting dressed up and doing these interviews via Zoom. And we're going to talk a little bit more about interviewing via Zoom later on in the program. On-campus interviews are just one avenue on finding a summer internship. The sessions are posted as you'll see in the video. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask. Employers will still be coming in throughout the semester. So you always want to kind of keep an eye on that tab. There's the non-OCR postings. There's judicial internship applications that are posted through the non-OCR postings, diversity internship programs. There are other resources. I always like to say that Albany Law Link is a great resource, but it's certainly not the only resource. And the other day you received an email from Colleen O'Byrne that provided you with a lot of information and a list of resources outside of Albany Law Link on where you can find positions. We are hosting a job fair on February 11th, which will give you another opportunity to meet and speak with employers. Before I turn it over to Colleen, I just wanted to mention that I know grades are coming out as we speak. One of my students reached out to me this week, not as happy with their grades as they had hoped to have been, and was afraid that that just discounted them from the on-campus interview program or from other applications. And that's not the case. While some employers might be focused on academics, not all employers are focused on academics. So I definitely encourage you to speak with your counselor, to meet with them and discuss any concerns you may have, and where you want to apply to and how you move forward from there. So please, as these grades come in, please don't let it be the most defining moment of the semester as you move forward in terms of summer job search. Colleen?
Thank you, Joanne. So good morning, everyone. It's nice to see some faces, connect some names to faces. Sorry you're up so early, but we're thrilled to see you. And we know that this is weighing heavily on your minds, thinking about the future and just trying to get a handle on what's next after your first semester and as you go into your second semester. So we just really wanted to provide some information and to continue to develop the relationships that we each are that we each have with you. So Joanne and I and Dean Fitzpatrick, who's now on the call, are all eager to meet with you. And some of you we've met with, some of you we're just starting to get to know. And I wanted to just speak to that for a moment so that if you haven't had a chance to set up an appointment with your assigned career counselor, go ahead into Albany Law Link and select a time and a day to meet with one of us. So we each have assigned students. You should know that by now. But if you have questions, you certainly could reach out and ask. But we'd like to have you set up that meeting. And in that first meeting, we try to be as brief as possible, but we go through a couple of different components. And it's important for a few reasons, and we just wanted to highlight that. First and foremost is the individual career plan, or ICP. And that really gives us a chance to get to know you by giving you an opportunity before we meet to reflect on, why are you in law school? What are your goals? What are your interests? So that we can then begin to get to know you and think about some opportunities that we can help you to pursue. So that's the first thing that we do in the meeting. The second thing is we begin to talk about your job search. And for some students, it's to look at the resume. Now we're sort of speeding into a time frame where many of you need your resumes. You need them relatively soon if you're going to participate in spring recruiting, or winter recruiting as we're calling it this year. So the documents become relatively important more quickly. So for those of you who haven't set up an appointment yet, it's okay. Get on our calendar. We'll work with you to go through the components of getting to know you and going through what will be the important elements of those documents. And as Joanne mentioned, your resume and your cover letter are really the two pieces that we can have the most impact with as we discuss your first legal resume. And the reason we do that is because the legal profession is slightly different than if you've been in other professions, or if you're coming right from college. Your resume changes, and it changes for reasons to attract the legal audience. So we just want to make sure that you're prepared, you're putting your best foot forward. So in that regard, when you upload your documents to Albany Law Link, your first resume, your default resume, is approved by your counselor before you can actually apply for any opportunities, or before you can upload any other documents. As Joanne mentioned, cover letters, unofficial transcript, writing sample, sometimes applications, and sometimes list of references. You'd be surprised the different kinds of things that people will ask for. The one document that often is asked for, but well, not often, infrequently, but we do try to ask you to be prepared, is your college undergraduate transcript. So if you have to dig it out, if you have to request it, it just needs to be unofficial, but you may want to have that on hand to upload it into your document library. So the last thing I want to say regarding this, scheduling appointments, getting your documents together, is that we're here to help you. With each of our students, we go back and forth. We want to make sure that you've got a document that's polished, it's professional, and it's really helping you to engage the employers that you're most interested in. So with that, I'm going to swing it back to Joanne to talk a little bit more in detail about some of the important dates that are coming up for on-campus recruiting, since we're kind of on the doorstep.
Thank you, Colleen. Before I mention the important dates, as Colleen mentioned, the documents, particularly the writing sample, we have all of our resources and samples on Albany Law Link. So on your homepage, there is a tab that says resources, and that's where you can find sample resumes, cover letter. The writing sample should have a cover sheet to it. And right there, you'll be able to find the guidelines for a writing sample. And you're encouraged to work with your lawyering faculty member as you get that ready to apply. So important dates. So coming up on-campus interview is the first session is the January session and the resume collect session. And when you go into that tab, you will see that there are dates that you can bidding. Bidding means applying. So you can apply anytime in the first session between January 11th and January 19th. And in the on-campus interview program, which is different than the non-OCR, in on-campus interviewing, there is no benefit to applying on the 11th, versus the 18th or the 19th. On January 11th at 12:01 a.m., the apply button will appear. So you don't see the apply button right now. And then on January 19th at 11:59 p.m., the apply button will go away. And then on the 20th or the 21st, they get released to the employers. So you'll hear January 11th a lot. A couple of my students have written to me and said, I need this by Monday. You don't need it by Monday. So as Colleen mentioned, make an appointment with your counselor. We will make sure to the best that we can to get all of these done. A little patience, as we try to get you all in, but we will do our best to make sure that you're all prepared. Non-OCR works a little bit different in that the fact that the employer might have you apply through Albany Law Link, or they might have you go directly to their website. In that case, the employer is seeing them right as they are received. But OCR is a little bit different. Just to touch briefly on the types of employers you're going to see, there are some law firms in the on-campus interview program, but they are not the biggest hire of first-year students. Government and public interest agencies are the biggest hire of first-year students. And we have a list of employers that have previously hired first-year students for the summer that we are also happy to share with you to give you another resource on how to begin applying to positions both on Albany Law Link and outside of Albany Law Link. Does anyone have any questions as we move forward to talk a little bit about interviewing in a virtual world? No, everyone good so far? Great. So we encourage you to start practicing your virtual interview skills. They're a little bit different than interviewing in person. So practicing is a good idea. You want to treat this as professionally as you would a in-person interview. You want to get dressed up. You want to make sure that your background is not distracting. And I'm going to share a story with one of my second years who was interviewing this fall with a firm, and she asked if she could use one of the interview rooms here on campus, and we said yes. And in the interview room was a picture of either Justice Jackson or I don't know who it was, but there was a picture of a distinguished alum. And right before she started the interview, she saw the picture, she got her Zoom all ready, and she thought to herself, they may ask me who that is. So she got up, she turned around, she looked to see who the picture was. And sure enough, first question was, so who is that behind you? So as you're thinking about your background, you want to keep them as simple and as plain as possible, so it's not distracting, because you want them to focus on you and not what's going on in the background. You want to dress up, you want to wear a suit. You've heard all the horror stories as we've gone on Zoom about people who've only worn, half the suit and then have had to get up and they're in shorts or sweatpants. So, plus being in a full suit really puts you in the mindset of an interview. When we first started Zoom, I got a lot of grief from those at home because whenever I would do a program, I would dress fully, heels and all, just to kind of put me into that mindset. So I encourage you to do the same. So take down any distracting pictures or wall hangings. You can change your backgrounds. You're all pretty well versed in Zoom now than we were during the fall semester, but we did do on-campus interviews during the fall semester, and they were very, very successful. Meg and Lima have done an incredible job of setting up these programs, and they run very smoothly. So again, if you have any questions about that, certainly, feel free to ask your counselor. And I think we had a question. Emily asked, when you submit your application during one of the sessions, does it tell you which places your application is going to? So Emily, do you mean different offices for one employer, or are you, because each employer will have a submit button? Emily, can you just?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I was just talking about, you had said that Like the first session is January 11th to the 19th. Are there different applications that open, or is it just one general one that you submit to?
So when you go on to the on-campus recruiting, you will see that there is a resume collect January session, a resume, an on-campus interview January session. There's a February on-campus interview session. I believe, Meg, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but a February collect interview session. Each session has their own set of deadlines. So as you go into each session, as you use the drop down to look at the sessions, and then you go in, you'll see each employer associated with each session. And as you go in to review each employer, the submit button will be there and you're applying directly to each employer.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks. It's a great question, Emily. So we are next week hosting a virtual mock interview program. You have an opportunity to interview with alumni from all different practice areas and different types of employers. From a judge, we have people from large law firms, small law firms, government agencies. So we encourage you to participate in that program. These alumni are going to interview you as though you are really interviewing with them. We'll provide you some guidance before you conduct the interviews. They're going to provide you with feedback. And as you know, the best way to be prepared for something is to practice. So the mock interview program next week is from 5:30 to 7 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if you haven't signed up for a slot, we strongly encourage you to do so. Colleen?
No, I'm glad you just mentioned that, Joanne, because I checked the numbers this morning. So the spots are filling quickly. We only have a few left on a couple of the days. So if you are still interested, please go in today, RSVP. And as Joanne said, we'll send information in advance to help you prepare. You're going to choose a night, and then we'll let you know what time your mock interview is on that particular evening. So sort of stay tuned for that piece of information, and then you'll also know who your interviewer is going to be. We're thrilled to be partnering with the Women's Leadership Initiative on this, and many of the individuals who are part of the advisory committee have offered to and volunteered to be participating next week as our interviewers. So we're thrilled to partner with them in helping you. And as Joanne said, on-campus recruiting is a piece of your puzzle. So just remember that as you are looking for opportunities, you're looking in a variety of places. I've talked to so many students over the winter and even just this week. They're looking and talking to people in all different areas of their life. So it could be folks that you have worked with previously in a professional setting, or someone from a past internship, or someone from, college, or a family friend. Your network is vast. We want you to think about that as you are considering what you want to do, where you want to work this upcoming summer, and to really be exploring opportunities beyond recruiting, beyond the career fair in February, because your best opportunities are going to come from what interests you most. So that said, we really want to make sure that, and to the extent that you can do this, your students first, we know this, that staying up to date and paying attention to what's happening in the market in general. The economy dictates what happens with employers. And it's really interesting to note where opportunities might emerge in this sort of COVID and post-COVID world that we're living in. Employers' needs change based on the demands of their own clients. So as you are thinking about what's happening, and you're reading and you're having conversations in your classes and with your peers, consider what else you might want to look at and how to be flexible in this changing market. There's so much we don't have control over, but the things that we do have control over, and building our skills and understanding how our past skills can be transferable during this time are really essential. And we want to remind you to rely on that for yourself. And as you talk with us, just be honest. I've had students where sometimes they're looking at me and then they look around the room and they go, but I'm sort of thinking about this. I'm like, well, that's good. It's really good to be honest with yourself about why you came to law school, what your interests are, and then kind of let's work toward those objectives. Let's work toward those goals. So we just wanted to make sure that we took a moment to remind you to look around, to think about the market and to just stay up to date and be as open as possible as you go through the spring semester, and not to panic, not to panic. So I'm going to toss it back to Joanne to talk a little bit more about some details that we thought might help you.
Before I go any further, Ashley had a great question. Ashley had asked if some students are starting this January, so they're just beginning their journey, and they were wondering how that would impact a summer position. It's a great question, Ashley. We will be able to explain that you are just starting in your cover letter. So I definitely encourage you to meet with your counselor and still, move forward with the summer internship and just take a look at each employer separately. But you can work hand in hand with your counselor on how you can explain how you are a January start date in your cover letter. And
just to tag on to that, we know that there are new students that are joining. We are in the process of getting the list of the students so that we can import your information into our database, and then we can make assignments for our new students who are welcoming in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. If any of you, I know I sent the link to a few students who are in that situation. So we welcome you. We look forward to working with you. Just give us a little bit of time and we'll send you out a welcome and tell you how to take advantage of all the services and who your counselor is.
Thank you, Colleen, for mentioning that. This spring semester is going to bring you a lot of opportunities to attend events virtually. They're going to give you opportunities to meet with alumni and to meet with friends of the law school. To the extent that you can do that, we encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities. Building your network, one of the benefits of COVID is that you're able to build your network with people outside of the Capital District. So especially if you are interested in a location that is not here in Albany, reaching out to alumni, making those connections, and you can do that through your career counselor and through the events that the law school will be holding. So please think of that as another avenue to help you with your summer job search. I know I have students who are interested in going to Utah. I have someone who's thinking about staying in Virginia. Some of my students are actually, in different countries right now. So, we have alumni all over the place, and it's a great tool and a great opportunity for you to start making those connections. Colleen, and then there's an alumni and mentoring program too. So I'm not sure if many of you have signed up for that. I think they had a great response. So finding a mentor is also a great opportunity for you to start building that network. Colleen had mentioned that, this is a fluid situation. It's fluid for you. It's also fluid for the employers, right? As we're, as we're still dealing with the pandemic, employers are still trying to figure out what their needs are. So, don't get discouraged, right? This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. But always remember that we can't fix what we don't know is broke. So as we move forward with the semester, and we move forward with on-campus interviewing, non-OCR, opportunities outside of Albany Law Link, keep your counselor up to date, right? So if you're not getting interviews, or you're not getting offers, let your counselor know as soon as possible, because we want to reevaluate the documents, your interviewing skills. We want to try to figure out, make sure you're fishing in the right ponds, So please, as we move forward, just keep us up to date. Try to, block out the noise of the rumor mill, that you hear. If you hear anything that is of concern to you, check it out with your counselor first, because there is a lot, of that goes on. And it's no fault of anyone. It's just some people hear certain things, and just like the telephone game, it kind of gets, a little bit muddled. So certainly let us know if there's any questions that arise, and let us know how your job search is going, because we really want to see you be successful this summer and thereafter.
I think that's a great point. I was just thinking about, one of the things Joanne and I talked about this, and we say this all the time, which is just focus on what's within your control. And right now, your academics, your work, if many of you are working, we know that. You have other responsibilities at home. So focus on the things within your control. Your job search becomes a component of what you add to your calendar. And we find that as we're thinking about the professional development and the professional identity that you are developing as law students and then future attorneys, that the more time that you think about and that you plan and prioritize the things that are important to you, the more successful you will be. We don't have specific or data that I can share with you concretely right now, but I think each of us could say anecdotally, the students who work with their counselor or who check in or who take advantage of resources tend to be students who are successful in achieving their goals. So we put out that information in front of you, not because we are trying to tell you what to do or how to manage your job search, but because we really want to be a resource and to help you navigate. And there's a lot to navigate, even outside of a pandemic. So focus on what's within your control, add to your calendar each week professional development activities that you'd like to engage in or networking. And as you gain momentum and as you are prioritizing, good things do happen. And we've still seen it. There are jobs out there, there are employers who are hiring, there are opportunities, and people are building skills. So we want you to stay upbeat and positive because that will influence how you are evaluated in your interviews and in your interactions with folks on and off the screen, in and out of the classroom. It really does make a difference. And that was the last thing that I wanted to say. And so I'm going to toss it back to Joanne to say adios and thank you.
Colleen just reminded me of one other thing. Please remember as we're moving forward that you are building your reputation as a legal professional, not only in this community, but in the legal field. So, keep appointments, show up to interviews on time, write thank you notes. Always remember that everything you do is is representing you as a future attorney. So on that note, I want to see if there's any questions that anyone has. Julia has a question. Julia, you want to pop on and ask?
Oh, thank you for hosting this, first of all. But I had it may be kind of a silly question, but in a sort of other professional contexts outside of the legal world, I know it can be very challenging. It's easy to go from corporate to nonprofit, but it can be very challenging to go from nonprofit to corporate. There's quite a stigma. So I was wondering if that was similar here. Like if we do summer internships with nonprofits, does that sort of pigeonhole us? Does that make sense?
Not at all. As I mentioned, most first-year students are going to, the bigger, higher first-year students are government, public interest organizations. So you're really focusing on the transferable skills, and you'll have lots of opportunity throughout law school to look at different types of employers. So the most important thing is that you are gaining experience, this summer and each semester, and experience can come in all different shapes and sizes. It can be a summer internship, it can be an in-house clinic, a field placement, moot court competition, a journal, a pro bono experience. So as you work with your counselor, we'll start to check off some boxes of the transferable skills that you're looking for to get to where you want to go. When you look at our employment statistics for after graduation, pretty much about half the class goes into private practice. So the skills that you're developing as a student throughout law school are helping you to get to, either the private sector or the public sector.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Well, we want to thank you for getting up early on your days off and coming to meet with us. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us, your counselors or any one of us, Meg and Lima. We're happy to help. We're looking forward to another successful on-campus recruiting session and another successful semester. We do hope you all stay safe and healthy and look forward to the day that we're all together again in person.
Absolutely.